Welcome back to Under Baobab Skies. Tonight, we delve into the Ghana Empire, where gold shone bright beneath the earth, but danger lurked in every shadow. The fire burns low, casting a warm circle of light on faces gathered close. Beyond its reach, the night stretches out, deep, endless, and scattered with stars. Somewhere far away, a hyena's laugh rides the wind. Fading into the hush of the West African savanna, the air is thick with anticipation, as if the very land itself is holding its breath, waiting for the tale to unfold. In the year's dry season, the dust lies thick on the land, curling up into the air with every step. It settles on our skin, a fine powder that speaks of ages past and secrets long buried. And yet, far beneath this parched earth, the veins of gold glint, silent and hidden. Long before the modern borders of Mali or Mauritania, long before ships carried Africa's riches across the seas, there was Ghana, the land where the earth's treasure could not always buy a man peace. This was not the Ghana of today's maps, but the Ouagadougou Empire, a place where wealth and peril walked hand in hand. Its kings sat on thrones heavy with gold, their courts filled with traders from lands far beyond the horizon. The air in these royal chambers was heavy with the scent of exotic spices and the murmur of a dozen languages. But in the shadow of this wealth were men who worked the ground until their backs ached. Men whose hands were rough from stone and earth. Men who never held the gold they pulled from the soil. As we walk through the dust of their world tonight, we will listen for the quiet voices of history. We will feel the coolness of the mines, smell the damp earth where gold dust clung, and hear the cautious footsteps of those who knew that one wrong move, one careless word, could end a life. The darkness of these tunnels holds more than just precious metal. It holds the stories of countless lives, of dreams both realized and shattered. The Ghana Empire was a land of contradictions. On the surface, it gleamed with the promise of untold riches. Caravans stretched across the horizon, laden with gold and salt, ivory and cloth. The marketplaces buzzed with activity, a cacophony of haggling voices and jingling coins. But beneath this veneer of prosperity, a current of tension ran deep and swift. In the narrow streets of Kambi Salad, the empire's great capital, whispers travelled faster than the desert wind. Who had found a new vein of gold, whose loyalty to the king was wavering. The very wealth that made Ghana great also made it a target, both from within and without. Every glint of gold in the firelight cast shadows, and in those shadows, plots were hatched and fates were sealed. Tonight, we will peel back the layers of time, like the careful excavation of an ancient burial site. We'll sift through the sands of history to uncover the true heart of the Ghana Empire. We'll meet the kings who ruled with iron fists wrapped in golden rings, the traders who risked everything on treacherous desert routes, and the miners whose sweat and blood brought forth the riches that built an empire. But this is not just a tale of kings and conquerors. It is a story of the common people, the farmers who tilled the land in the shadow of golden palaces, the artisans who turned raw metal into objects of beauty, and the slaves whose labor fueled the empire's growth. Their voices have been lost to time, but tonight we will strain our ears to hear their whispers carried on the night breeze. As the fire crackles and sparks dance up towards the star-studded sky, settle in and prepare yourselves, for the tale we're about to unfold is one of triumph and tragedy, of unimaginable wealth and crushing poverty, of wisdom passed down through generations and secrets taken to the grave. You are now under Baobab skies, and the story begins now. In the heart of West Africa, where the Sahel meets the savannah, an empire rose from the dust. Its name echoed across deserts and jungles, carried by the wind and whispered in the courts of distant kings. Ghana, a name that became synonymous with gold. But gold, as we shall see, is a fickle master. It can build empires and tear them down just as swiftly. As we journey through the rise and fall of the Ghana Empire, remember that history is not just a collection of dates and names. It's a living, breathing thing, as real and immediate as the ground beneath our feet and the air in our lungs. So listen closely, for in the tale of Ghana, we may hear echoes of our own world, our own struggles, our own dreams of glory and fears of downfall. The night is young, the stars are bright, and the story of Ghana, in all its golden glory and shadowed intrigue, awaits us. Let us begin. The sun had not yet risen, and already the air carried a heaviness, the promise of heat that would bake the land before midday. A miner stirred from his mat, rubbing grit from his eyes, the sound of the morning drum calling him to the day's labor. He stepped outside, where the earth was cracked and red, its dust rising like smoke around his ankles. In the Ghana Empire, gold was more than just a precious metal. It was the lifeblood of power, the currency of kings. But for those who toiled in the mines, it was a cruel master, offering little reward and demanding much sacrifice. As our miner steps into the dawn light, his bare chest glistening with sweat, a leather apron hanging loosely from his shoulders, we begin to understand the true cost of this golden pursuit. The empire's wealth was built on the backs of these men and women, their hands calloused and scarred from endless days of digging. But the fruits of their labor were not theirs to keep. In Ghana's empire, the gold did not belong to the miners. It belonged to the king. Every nugget, every heavy lump was his alone. What the miners could claim. The dust that clung to their skin, the flakes caught in the seams of their baskets, was carefully measured and taxed. Even this small allowance was watched closely by the king's guards. Imagine the frustration, the bitter taste of injustice that must have lingered on their tongues. To hold such wealth in your hands, to feel its weight and see its gleam, only to have it snatched away. The miners lived under a constant state of temptation and fear, knowing that a single stolen flake could mean the difference between life and death. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting long shadows across the parched earth, our miner made his way to the pit where he would spend his day. The mines themselves were dangerous places. In some regions, they lay deep beneath the ground, with narrow tunnels barely wide enough for a man to pass. Torches burned low, casting a flickering light on the damp earth walls. The air inside was hot and heavy, a mix of smoke and dust that stung the eyes and burned the lungs. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Can you hear the rhythmic chink of metal on stone? The labored breathing of men working in the stifling heat. These sounds echoed through the tunnels, a constant reminder of the perilous nature of their work. One wrong move, one misplaced strike, and the earth could come crashing down, burying dreams and bodies alike. But not all miners faced the claustrophobic dangers of the underground. Some worked in open pits, chipping at rock under the full glare of the sun. The work was relentless. Hands blistered, backs bent, and sweat running into eyes until the world blurred. In the rainy season, pits could flood, turning into muddy traps that swallowed tools and claimed lives. Picture the scene. Workers ankle-deep in muddy water, their skin glistening with rain and sweat. Men and women alike, their faces etched with determination and exhaustion. Sifting through the muck in search of that elusive golden glint, the grey sky above offers no respite, only the promise of more rain, more mud, more struggle. But the greatest danger wasn't the earth collapsing, or the fever that sometimes took men after weeks underground. It was the secrecy. Gold was not just a commodity here, it was power. Where the mines were located was a closely guarded state secret, known only to trusted workers and the king's appointed overseers. Anyone caught trying to smuggle nuggets or reveal a mine's location risked execution. Imagine the weight of that knowledge, the constant fear of letting slip a word that could seal your fate. Every conversation, every interaction with outsiders became a potential trap. The miners carried this burden along with their tools, their minds as carefully guarded as the precious metal they sought. The miners lived under this constant tension, their labor feeding the empire's wealth, their own pockets never heavy enough to buy freedom. Yet still they worked, because to refuse was to invite punishment, and to succeed, just to survive the day, was to live to see another dawn. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As night falls and our miner returns to his humble dwelling, we see the toll this life has taken. His shoulders slump with fatigue, his hands tremble slightly as he washes away the day's grime. In the flickering light of a small fire, he examines his meager share. A few specks of gold dust, barely enough to trade for a day's meal. But there's a resilience in his eyes, a quiet determination that speaks of hope. Perhaps tomorrow will be the day he finds a nugget large enough to change his fortunes. Perhaps tomorrow the overseer will be distracted, and he can slip an extra flake into his cheek. Small dreams, but in a world where survival is a daily struggle, they are enough to keep him going. The Ghana Empire's golden wealth came at a terrible human cost. For every gleaming treasure in the king's coffers, there were countless stories of hardship, danger, and despair in the mines. The gold diggers of Ghana were not adventurers seeking fortune, but men and women trapped in a system that valued the metal more than the lives that extracted it. As we end our journey into this golden hell, remember that behind every piece of jewelry, every coin, every adornment of the ancient world, there were hands that bled and backs that broke. The true price of gold was paid not in currency, but in sweat, tears, and often lives. The fire dies down, the stars wheel overhead, and in the distance we hear the faint sound of a drum. Another day in the mines is about to begin. For the gold diggers of the Ghana Empire, the cycle of hardship and hope continues, as endless and unforgiving as the search for gold itself. The men returned from the shafts, their baskets heavy with crushed ore, the scent of damp earth clinging to their skin like a second shadow. At the river's edge, where the water flowed clear and patient, the true labor began. They knelt, sleeves rolled high, and tipped their precious cargo into shallow wooden basins. The current, a silent partner in their work, thinned the mud and carried away the lighter sands. Gold, proud and unyielding, sank to the bottom, tiny suns hiding in the humble bowls. Let us pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Washing gold was an art of patience and precision. Hands moved in a steady rhythm. Stir, swirl, tilt, and watch. Each motion, a legacy passed from weathered miner to wide-eyed boy at his side. They learned to coax the gold into the pan's corner, to read the telltale glint of a flake, to keep the current just so. Women often performed the final sifting, their fingers nimble and unhurried, plucking specks of metal from the dark slurry with a reverence that bordered on worship. When a miner uncovered a substantial nugget, the air around them changed. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to that small golden stone, warm and impossible in a calloused palm. Then came the guard's footsteps, the ever-present shadow that followed treasure. Each find had to be surrendered to the weighing house, where men in the king's service, their faces impassive, recorded it in leather-bound ledgers destined for the palace. The moment gold left the basin, it ceased to be personal. It became the lifeblood of the empire. Let us pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. At the scales, the atmosphere was taut with precision. The overseer, appointed by royal decree, maintained a neutral expression, but his eyes were sharp as a falcon's. He balanced bronze weights, read the scales with practiced care, and pressed the clay seal that marked the king's claim. Receipts for common miners, if they existed at all, were mere scraps of hope. A measured ration, a temporary reprieve, a notation that you had not stolen from the crown that day. Any discrepancy, any unaccounted fleck of gold, brought questions that seldom ended well. The system was designed to ensure miners never held more than a handful of pride. In the backhouses, ingots were melted, a dance of flame that merged the work of many hands. Smiths poured the liquid gold into molds, striking bars with the king's mark. The miners watched, often from behind a rope, as the fruits of their labor hardened into shapes they would never possess. They stood witness as the wealth of the land was transformed into currency that would travel on ships and feed distant palaces. Let us pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The toll of this work etched itself into bodies. Men coughed from dust that settled in their lungs, shoulders hunched from the weight of endless baskets, eyes weakened by the relentless glare of sun and firelight. In the wet months, stagnant water brought fevers and mosquitoes, while wounds from rock and tool festered in ways that would shame modern medicine. Children, if they worked at all, ran errands, carried water, or learned the songs and silences of the river. Families adapted to the rhythm of the pits. A perilous work schedule, meager rations, and the constant dread of falling short at the scales. The psychological burden was equally heavy. Secrecy warped trust. Whispers became currency. A miner who spoke too freely about a rich deposit risked drawing unwanted attention. Tales grew in the corners of hearths about men who hid flakes and vanished, taken in the night by shadowy figures. Whether myth or memory, these stories kept hands clenched and tongues cautious. The river washed the gold, but it could not cleanse away the watchful eye of the state. Let us pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Yet, even under the king's oppressive weight, small human economies persisted. A miner might trade a handful of allowed dust for a pot of millet, a stitch for a worn shama, a favor owed that might one day return as help carrying baskets when an elder esbak gave out. These tiny exchanges kept the community breathing. They were not escape routes from the larger system, only small resistances. The quiet commerce of people learning to survive beneath abundant demand, when harvest time coincided with trade caravans. Some miners were pressed into service as part of the state's wider logistics, carrying tribute, guarding merchants, or constructing storehouses. The empire's appetite turned individuals into cogs. One season, you were in the basin. The next, at a way station, shoulder to shoulder with men who had once been your neighbors. This mobility sometimes offered new skills and connections, but it rarely brought safety. Let us pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. At the close of a long season, a miner might return home with a weathered body and a quiet heart. He kept his small allotment, a palmful of coins or a thread of gold dust, and he spent it on grain, medicine, or a new reed basket. He did not buy freedom. Freedom was not for sale. He bought survival for another season, and in doing so, became part of the great silent accounting that kept an empire polished and glittering for those who would never touch its roots. The cycle repeated, as constant as the river's flow. Each dawn brought new hope, each dusk new weariness. The gold they sought was both blessing and curse, a glimmer of possibility that often led only to deeper bondage. Yet they persisted, these men and women of the river, their hands calloused and their spirits resilient. For in the depths of the earth and the swirl of the water, they found not just gold, but the strength to endure. Let us pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As the seasons turned, the miners' stories became woven into the fabric of the land. Their songs echoed in the valleys, their legends whispered around fires. They were more than just workers. They were the keepers of a sacred knowledge, the guardians of the earth's treasures. And though the weight of the empire pressed down upon them, their spirits remained unbroken, like the gold they sought, pure and unyielding. In the end, it was not just gold that flowed from their hands, but the very essence of human perseverance. Each flake, each nugget, each bar bore silent witness to their struggle and their strength. And as we sit here, beneath the vast canopy of stars, we honor their memory. The nameless, countless souls who shaped an empire with their sweat and dreams. The fire burns low now, and the night grows deep. But the story of the gold and the people who sought it lives on, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who toil in the shadows of greatness. As we rest here, let us remember their legacy and the price paid for the glitter that adorns the world. The gold, heavy and stubborn, pressed down on the miner's backs not just as dust and ore, but as an invisible weight of fear. Every day beneath the sun-washed sky, the men moved with practiced caution, knowing that even the smallest misstep could invite suspicion from the king's guards. Secrecy was survival. In the scorching heat of Wagadu, where the earth yielded its precious bounty, the miners toiled in silence, their hands, calloused and scarred, sifted through the red soil, searching for the glint that could mean life or death. The air was thick with dust and unspoken words, each breath a reminder of the delicate balance between wealth and peril. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and gold, the miners retreated to their camps. Here, in the growing shadows, they found a fragile respite from the watchful eyes that haunted their days. At night, around flickering fires, miners exchanged quiet words. They shared stories wrapped in metaphor, cautious not to reveal the hidden veins or the whispers of nearby pits. The fear of betrayal was constant, for the kingdom's spies moved unseen, watching for those who might slip even a grain of gold beyond royal eyes. The flames danced, casting long shadows across weathered faces. Men huddled close, their voices barely above a whisper as they spoke of families left behind, of dreams deferred, of a freedom that seemed as elusive as the gold they sought. In these moments, the weight of their burden seemed to lift, if only for a breath. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The night sky stretched vast and endless above them, a tapestry of stars that had witnessed countless generations of miners come and go. In the distance, the silhouettes of guards moved like specters, a constant reminder of the price of their labor. Life carried on in this delicate balance, harvesting the earth's treasure while burying voices in silence. Families waited with heavy hearts, the absence of men who never spoke of the dangers they faced. Children learned early that gold meant power, but power demanded sacrifice. In villages scattered across the empire, women tended to fields and raised children alone. They wove tales of brave fathers and husbands, spinning stories as intricate as the gold-threaded cloth that adorned the nobles. Yet, beneath these tales lay a current of fear, a knowledge that each day could bring news of loss. The miners' children grew up in the shadow of absence, their young eyes already carrying the weight of understanding. They learned to listen for what was not said, to read the tension in a mother's shoulders, to recognize the value of silence. Gold became a paradox in their minds, a source of both pride and pain, of wealth and want. The king's tribute weighed heavier than gold itself, tax paid in sweat, fear, and quiet endurance. Yet, beneath this pressure, small acts of defiance bloomed. Miners would trade tiny flecks of dust in secret markets, barter for food or simple comforts, weaving a fragile web of community beneath the empire's gaze. In the grey light of dawn, before the sun could betray them, miners and traders gathered in hidden clearings. Here, gold dust changed hands for bread, for medicine, for moments of joy. These exchanges were more than mere transactions. They were acts of rebellion, silent affirmations of humanity in a world that sought to reduce them to mere tools of the empire. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As the flames dwindled and the night deepened, the miners' thoughts turned to the day ahead. The cycle would begin anew, the descent into the earth, the careful extraction of its riches, the constant vigilance against discovery. Each man carried not just the physical toll of their labor, but the spiritual weight of their silence. The burden was both physical and spiritual. Gold was sacred, a gift from the earth and the ancestors, but also a chain that bound the living to a system larger than themselves. Miners bore not just the weight of ore, but the invisible chains of an empire built on silence and gold. In the depths of the mines, where darkness pressed in from all sides, the miners found a strange kinship with the gold they sought. Both were trapped. Both were valued for what they could provide rather than what they were. The veins of ore that ran through the rock seemed to whisper of a time before empires, before the weight of crowns and the reach of guards. As they chipped away at the earth, some miners whispered prayers to ancestors long gone. They asked for strength, for protection, for a future where their children might walk freely under the sun. These prayers, like the gold dust that clung to their skin, were carried out of the mines, each day silent, precious, and hidden from view. The empire above grew fat on the fruits of their labor, its cities gleaming with the reflected light of countless treasures. Palaces rose like mountains of wealth, their spires reaching towards the heavens as if to challenge the gods themselves. Yet, for all its grandeur, the empire was built on a foundation as fragile as the silence it demanded. In the hearts of the miners, a different kind of wealth accumulated. It was a richness of spirit, a resilience forged in the crucible of oppression. They found strength in small gestures, a helping hand extended in the darkness, a shared meal, a story passed down in whispers. These were the true treasures, more valuable than any gold they might unearth. As the years passed, the weight of silence grew heavier. It pressed down on shoulders already bowed, threatened to crush spirits that had endured so much. Yet still, the miners persevered. They carried within them a hope as enduring as the gold. They sought a hope that one day their voices might ring out freely under the African sun. In the flickering firelight, as another day drew to a close, the miners looked to each other. No words were needed. Their shared experience spoke volumes. They were bound not just by the gold they harvested, but by the dreams they nurtured in secret, the strength they found in unity, and the unwavering belief that one day the burden of silence would be lifted. And so, as the stars wheeled overhead and the guards patrolled in the distance, the miners rested. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new fears, new hopes, but for now, in this moment of quiet companionship, they found a peace as precious as any gold. The fire crackled softly, a lullaby to weary bodies and resilient spirits, as they prepared to face another day in the golden heart of Ouagadougou. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the Sahel in hues of gold and amber, we find ourselves transported to a time when the land itself whispered secrets of hidden treasures. Welcome, dear listeners, to the realm of ancient Ghana, where the art of finding gold was as much about intuition as it was about labor. The miners of Ouagadougou were not mere wanderers with picks and shovels. No, they were students of the earth, readers of its subtle language. Every shift in soil color, every unusual glimmer in river sand, even the way certain plants clustered along riverbanks. All these were signals that gold might be slumbering just beneath their feet. By journey's end, you'll understand how these ancient people read their landscape like a living map, discovering riches where others saw only endless expanses of dust and stone. Long before the ring of iron tools echoed across the land, the first step in this golden quest was patient observation. The art of reading the ground was a legacy passed down through generations, a sacred knowledge shared from elders to youth. These seasoned miners could spot the faintest shimmer in a river S-bend or the telltale reddish tint of a distant hillside, and know, with the certainty born of years, that a vein lay close. But it wasn't just the land itself that spoke to them. Even the habits of animals could reveal nature's secrets. Cattle, pausing to lick mineral-rich soil, might unknowingly be indicating a spot where treasure lay hidden. Every detail, no matter how small, was a potential clue in this grand earthen puzzle. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Can you picture it? The vast Sahel stretching out before you, bathed in the golden light of sunset. Dry grasslands meet low, rolling hills on the horizon. In the foreground, Sunink elders stand tall, their weathered hands pointing towards a winding river in the distance. Further off, herders guide their cattle, unaware they may be walking above untold riches. Once a promising site was chosen, the real work began. Miners would dig shallow pits near streams or along rocky slopes, their hands and simple tools coaxing the earth to reveal its secrets. Wooden implements and iron picks loosened the soil, each strike a question asked of the land. In areas blessed with more water, ingenious methods were employed. Simple sluices, nothing more than angled wooden troughs, allowed water to wash away lighter soil, leaving behind the heavier, precious gold flecks. It was a dance of elements, earth and water working in harmony to unveil their treasures. Every movement of these miners was deliberate, their work as much about rhythm as it was about raw strength. They understood that patience and persistence were often rewarded more richly than brute force alone. The rivers themselves were active participants in this age-old search. Seasonal floods would sweep across the land, stripping away layers of earth to reveal new deposits. The miners, wise in the ways of nature's cycles, would bide their time. As soon as the waters receded, they would move in quickly, working together with practiced efficiency before the capricious earth could hide its veins once more. Let's pause again. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Imagine now a scene closer to the ground. Hands, strong yet gentle, sift river sediment through a finely woven basket. The morning light catches specks of gold dust, making them dance like tiny stars fallen to earth. Behind this careful work, calm waters stretch out, bordered by reeds swaying in a gentle breeze. It's a moment of quiet concentration, a testament to the patience required in this golden pursuit. The Sahel was not an easy taskmaster. The heat was relentless. The sun, a constant presence beating down from above. The wind, too, was ever present, its endless hum a backdrop to every day's labor. Yet, for those who had learned to listen, truly listen, the land spoke in a language of opportunity. Gold, you see, wasn't simply mined in the way we might think of it today. It was coaxed from its hiding place by people who had become one with their environment. They knew every whisper of the soil, every turn of the river, every subtle change in vegetation that might hint at riches below. This deep connection to the land went beyond mere prospecting. It was a relationship built on respect and understanding. The miners of Ouagadougou knew that the earth gave up its treasures grudgingly, and that hasty or greedy actions could lead to disaster. They worked with nature, not against it, understanding that their fortunes were tied inextricably to the health of the land itself. As night falls fully and our fire burns low, let us reflect on the wisdom of these ancient gold seekers. Their legacy is not just in the gleaming metal they unearthed, but in the profound connection they maintained with the world around them. They remind us that true wealth often lies not in what we can take from the earth, but in how deeply we can understand and appreciate its myriad languages. The stars wheel overhead, timeless witnesses to countless generations who have sought their fortunes in the soil of Africa. As we rest here, on the edge of dreams, can you hear it? The faint whisper of the land, still telling its golden tales to those who know how to listen. Tomorrow, we'll delve deeper into the techniques these ancient miners used, the tools they crafted, and the rituals that guided their search. But for now, let the crackling fire and the gentle night breeze carry you off to sleep, where perhaps you'll dream of shimmering rivers and hills that hold secrets as old as time itself. Rest well, dear listeners, for the journey into the golden heart of ancient Ghana has only just begun. The land has many more stories to tell, and we have only scratched the surface of its gleaming mysteries. In the heart of ancient Ghana, where the earth whispered secrets of golden treasures, miners embarked on a journey of discovery armed with tools as simple as they were ingenious. This was a time before the roar of machinery, before the earth shook with explosions. Instead, the land echoed with the rhythmic sounds of human effort, the scrape of wooden shovels, the thud of stone hammers, and the gentle swish of water in pans. These miners, our ancestors in the craft, worked with what the land provided. Their toolbox was a testament to human creativity, born from necessity and honed by generations of experience. Imagine, if you will, the calloused hands of a miner gripping a shovel carved from the heartwood of an acacia tree. This wasn't just any wood. Acacia was chosen for its strength, its ability to withstand the constant abuse of digging into riverbanks rich with promise. Beside the shovel, picture a basket woven so tightly from palm fibers that not even the finest grains of sand could escape its embrace. These baskets were more than simple containers. They were the workhorses of the mining operation, ferrying heavy loads of gravel and sand from the dig site to the washing areas. Each fiber, each weave, spoke of the skill passed down through generations. For the more challenging deposits, where the earth held its treasures more tightly, miners turned to tools of greater strength. Stone hammers, their surfaces pocked and scarred from countless impacts, lay ready for use. And as the ages turned and knowledge grew, iron picks made their appearance, each one a masterpiece forged by local blacksmiths who understood the delicate balance between hardness and flexibility needed for this demanding work. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Can you hear it? the gentle lapping of water against the shore, a sound as constant in the miner's life as the rising and setting of the sun. Water was more than a tool. It was a partner in the delicate dance of gold extraction. Wide wooden pans, worn smooth by countless hands, became stages for a performance as old as time itself. Picture a miner, knee-deep in a stream, his hands moving with the grace of a dancer as he swirls water in his pan. This was no haphazard motion. Each twist, each tilt was calculated, learned through years of practice. The goal to coax the heavier gold dust to settle at the bottom, while the lighter sand and gravel washed away. It was an art form, requiring not just strength, but a keen eye and unwavering patience. As the water cleared, imagine the miner's heart quickening at the sight of tiny golden flecks glinting in the sunlight. These precious particles, each one a promise of wealth and status, were carefully gathered and stored. But the tools of this trade weren't limited to those that dug and washed. Some of the most important implements were the smallest and most personal. Small gourds, hollowed and dried, became precision instruments for scooping up the tiniest amounts of gold dust. Leather pouches, soft and supple from use, hung at the miner's waist, safeguarding the day's finds. And tucked away, perhaps in a special pocket, you might find a touchstone. A small, dark piece of rock used to test the purity of gold by the streak it left behind. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As we sit here in the quiet of the evening, can you see them? The miners, returning from a long day's work, their tools cradled in their arms like old friends. Watch as they carefully clean each implement, removing the day's grime and preparing for tomorrow's labors. See how they sharpen edges dulled by use. Each stroke of the whetstone a meditation on the work to come. But there's more to this ritual than mere maintenance. Look closely, and you might spot something hanging from a miner's belt or tucked into the folds of his clothing. Amulets and charms, each one unique, each one precious to its owner. These weren't mere superstitions. They were connections to something greater. Beliefs that offered protection from the dangers that lurked in dark tunnels and treacherous riverbanks. Some miners carried small carved figures, others wore beads blessed by village elders. Many had amulets passed down through generations, their powers believed to grow stronger with each successful find. These talismans were more than good luck charms. They were reminders of the miner's connection to the land, to their ancestors, and to the spirits that guarded the earth's treasures. As night deepens and the stars wheel overhead, the miners settle into their camps. The air is filled with the murmur of voices sharing stories of the day's work, of near misses and lucky strikes, of the stubborn rock that finally yielded or the glint of gold spotted just as hope was fading. These tales, passed from old hands to eager novices, were as much a part of the mining tradition as any tool or technique. In these quiet moments, as the fire burns low and sleep beckons, the true nature of this ancient profession reveals itself. Mining in Ghana wasn't just about extracting wealth from the earth. It was a way of life, a connection to the land that ran as deep as the richest vein of gold. Each day was a dialogue with the earth, a negotiation conducted through wooden shovels and iron picks, through swirling water and patient hands. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As dawn breaks and a new day begins, watch as the miners rise, stretching muscles sore from yesterday's efforts. See how they gather their tools with a reverence born of long familiarity. Each shovel, each basket, each pan is more than just an implement. It is a key to unlocking the earth's secrets, a bridge between the world above and the riches below. The procession to the mining sites is a sight to behold. Miners move with purpose, their tools balanced expertly as they navigate familiar paths. The rising sun glints off iron picks and casts long shadows behind wooden shovels. There's an energy in the air, a mix of anticipation and determination that's palpable even from a distance. As work begins anew, take a moment to appreciate the symphony of sounds that fills the air. The rhythmic scrape of shovels against earth, the hollow thud of stone hammers against unyielding rock, the splash and gurgle of water in pans. These are the notes that compose the daily music of the mines. It's a melody as old as human ambition, as timeless as the glitter of gold itself. Watch closely as experienced miners guide their younger counterparts, showing them how to read the land, how to listen to what the earth is telling them. See how they demonstrate the perfect angle for a shovel thrust, the ideal motion for panning, the telltale signs that indicate a promising deposit. This transfer of knowledge, this sharing of wisdom, is as valuable as any golden nugget. As the day progresses and the sun climbs higher, observe how the miners adapt to the changing conditions. They shift their work to shadier spots, take brief rests to conserve energy, and share water to stay hydrated. The work is hard, but there's a sense of camaraderie, of shared purpose that makes the burden lighter. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As the day draws to a close and the miners prepare to return to their camps, take a final look at the scene before you. The tools, now coated with a day's worth of dirt and wear, still stand ready for tomorrow's challenges. The miners, tired but satisfied, gather their finds and begin the journey back. In this moment, as the last rays of sunlight paint the landscape in gold, we're reminded of the timeless nature of this pursuit. The methods may have changed over the centuries. New tools may have been introduced, but the essence remains the same. It's a story of human ingenuity and perseverance, of respect for the land and the treasures it holds. As night falls once more and the cycle prepares to begin anew, we're left with a profound appreciation for these ancient miners and their simple yet effective tools. In their hands, wood became an extension of will, stone a manifestation of strength, and iron a symbol of progress. Through their efforts, guided by tools both physical and spiritual, the golden wealth of Ghana was brought to light, shaping the destiny of a nation and leaving an indelible mark on history. Gold mining in ancient Ghana was as much about knowing where to look as it was about knowing how to work. Experienced miners learned to read the language of the land, the gentle slope of a hillside, the sudden change in vegetation, or the way certain rocks glinted in the sunlight teach. A quiet sign that gold might lie beneath. For alluvial mining, where gold was gathered from river sediments, miners worked in pairs or small groups, wading into the cool waters of slow-moving streams. They sought out places where the current lazily deposited its precious cargo, building makeshift sluices along the banks. These channels, carefully lined with reeds or tightly woven cloth, became the stage for a delicate dance between water and earth. As the muddy stream flowed through these simple yet ingenious contraptions, the heavier gold particles would catch in the natural fibers. Over hours, and sometimes days, the miners would patiently rinse away layer after layer of silt and sand. Their calloused hands worked tirelessly, sifting and sorting until only the bright, stubborn flecks of gold remained tiny suns captured from the river's embrace. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The night air carries the scent of damp earth and wood smoke. As we gaze up at the vast African sky, we can almost hear the whisper of countless generations who have worked these lands before us. Their stories are etched in the very soil we sit upon, a legacy of perseverance and hope. When the alluvial deposits grew scarce, or when rumors of richer veins spread through the villages, the miners turned their eyes to the earth itself. Harder deposits required a different kind of courage, the willingness to venture underground, to carve tunnels into the very heart of the land. In some areas, miners dug shafts supported by sturdy wooden beams, their hands raw from the constant grip on rope and tool. Baskets of earth were passed up these narrow openings, a human chain linking the depths to the world above. In the dim underground, oil lamps cast flickering light, their flames dancing on rough-hewn walls as men chipped steadily at unyielding rock. The work was slow and fraught with danger. Each day brought the risk of collapse, of suffocation in the thin air, or of striking a hidden pocket of water that could flood the tunnels in moments. Yet still they persevered, driven by the promise of golden reward and the needs of their families above. But there was a rhythm to the labor, a cadence as old as the hills themselves. Dig, lift, wash, and sift. This was more than mere toil. It was a connection to the earth, a conversation between human hands and ancient stone. Children often learned by shadowing their elders, their small frames darting between the adults as they carried water or helped with the endless task of panning. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly and we rest beneath the stars. In the stillness of the night, we can almost see those children of long ago, their eyes wide with wonder as they watch golden specks appear in their elders' pans. We can feel the weight of knowledge being passed down, as surely as the gold dust itself, carefully, reverently, from hand to hand. For the miners of ancient Ghana, these techniques weren't just methods of extracting wealth from the earth. They were a bridge between survival and prosperity, between the harsh realities of daily life and the dreams of a better future. Each nugget found, each vein discovered, was a testament to their skill, their patience, and their deep understanding of the land that sustained them. And the land, though generous, always demanded respect in return. The miners knew that their fortunes were tied to the whims of nature, to the ebb and flow of rivers, to the hidden treasures locked within unyielding rock. They learned to read the subtle signs, to listen to the whispers of wind and water, to feel the pulse of the earth beneath their feet. As dawn breaks over our camp, painting the sky in hues of gold that rival any treasure, we reflect on the legacy of these ancient miners. Their techniques, honed over centuries, speak to a profound connection between human ingenuity and the natural world. In their patient labor, we see not just the pursuit of wealth, but a dance of cooperation with the very land itself. The miners of Ghana understood that true riches came not just from what they could extract from the earth, but from the knowledge they gained in the process. Each generation added to this wealth of experience, refining techniques, discovering new signs to follow, new ways to coax the precious metal from its hiding places. As we pack up our camp and prepare to continue our journey, we carry with us the echoes of countless picks striking stone, of water rushing through carefully crafted sluices, of quiet voices sharing secrets passed down through time. The techniques that turned soil into gold were more than just practical skills. They were a testament to human perseverance, to the power of observation and patience, to the deep respect for the land that sustained life. In the distance, we can almost see the ghostly figures of miners from ages past, their forms shimmering in the morning mist. They remind us that the true gold of Ghana lies not just in its riches, but in the wisdom of its people, in their ability to read the language of the land and to work in harmony with nature's rhythms. As we walk on our feet, treading the same paths worn smooth by countless generations, we feel a profound connection to those who came before. Their legacy lives on in every golden fleck that still glimmers in Ganar's streams, in every shaft that plunges deep into the earth, in every story told around fires just like ours. The techniques that turned soil into gold were more than just methods of extraction. They were a way of life. A philosophy that understood the delicate balance between human need and nature's bounty. And as we continue our exploration of Ganar's rich history, we carry with us the weight of this knowledge, as precious and enduring as the gold itself. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the quiet of the night, we can almost hear the whispers of those ancient miners, their voices carried on the gentle breeze. They speak of patience, of respect for the land, of the deep joy found in work well done. And as we drift off to sleep, their words become part of us, a golden thread connecting past and present, earth and sky, dream and reality. If the mines were where gold was born from the earth, the camps were where life pulsed in steady rhythm. At the edge of the goldfields, rough clusters of huts and shelters formed small, temporary villages. Some were made of mud and thatch, others of woven reeds, their walls coated with clay to keep out the dust. Smoke from cooking fires curled into the air, carrying the scent of millet porridge and roasted fish. The camps were lively places, filled with miners, traders, cooks, and craftsmen. Women brewed beer from selling it in gourds to thirsty laborers at the end of the day. Children darted between huts, chasing each other through the dusty paths, while traveling merchants set up stalls piled with salt, cloth, and tools brought from distant markets. As the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the red earth, the camp came alive with a different energy. Miners, their faces etched with the day's toil, gathered around the traders' stalls, bartering for supplies and small luxuries. The air filled with a cacophony of voices, haggling and laughing, as smoke rose from small cooking fires dotting the landscape. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Evenings in the camp brought music and stories. The sound of drums echoed against the night, mingling with the hum of voices. Elders told tales of the land's spirit guardians, warning of greed that could bring ruin. Some miners swore they had seen shimmering figures at the edge of the Pitsamans. They said, for those who took more than the earth wished to give, food, too, was a unifier. Shared bowls of stewed greens and yams passed from hand to hand, and disputes from the day were set aside. Here, under the glow of the fires, bonds were formed that made the dangers of the mines a little lighter to bear. As night fully descended, the camp transformed. Flickering flames cast dancing shadows on the walls of huts, and the air grew thick with the scent of wood smoke and spices. People gathered in circles, their faces illuminated by the warm glow of the fire. The rhythmic beat of drums filled the air, accompanied by the haunting melodies of flutes. In the center, a storyteller gestured animatedly, his voice rising and falling as he wove tales of ancient heroes and forgotten kingdoms. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The heartbeat of the camps pulsed strongest in these moments of shared experience. Here, under the vast expanse of the African sky, the miners found solace and community. The day's hardships faded, replaced by the comfort of familiar faces and the warmth of shared meals. In the quieter corners of the camp, older miners spoke in hushed tones of the spirits that guarded the gold. They told of mysterious lights seen flickering in the depths of abandoned shafts, of whispers carried on the wind that spoke of untold riches and terrible curses. Young miners listened with wide eyes, both frightened and enthralled by these tales of the supernatural. As the night wore on, The energy of the camp slowly shifted. Voices grew softer, laughter more subdued. Miners drifted back to their huts, their bodies weary but their spirits lifted by the evening's camaraderie. The fires burned low, casting a soft amber glow across the sleeping camp. In these moments of twilight, when the boundary between waking and dreaming blurred, the true nature of the camp revealed itself. It was more than just a collection of huts and people. It was a living, breathing entity, sustained by the hopes and dreams of those who called it home. The huts themselves seemed to whisper stories of those who had come before. Each rough-hewn plank, each carefully woven thatch, bore witness to the countless souls who had sought their fortunes in the goldfields. The very earth beneath their feet held memories of triumphs and tragedies, of fortunes made and lost. As dawn approached, the camp stirred once more. Early risers moved quietly through the paths, rekindling fires and preparing for the day ahead. The scent of brewing coffee mingled with the morning mist, a promise of energy and new beginnings. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. With the first rays of sunlight, the camp burst into full life. Miners gathered their tools, their faces set with determination. Women called out greetings as they began their daily tasks, and children rubbed sleep from their eyes as they prepared for another day of play and small responsibilities. The rhythm of the camp was as steady and reliable as the beating of a heart. Each day brought its own challenges and joys, but the underlying pulse remained constant. It was this steadiness that gave the miners strength, that allowed them to face the dangers of the pits with courage and hope. As the miners set out for another day of back-breaking labor, the camp settled into its daytime routine. Women tended to gardens planted in any available patch of earth, coaxing life from the dusty soil. The sound of hammering rang out as craftsmen repaired tools and built new structures. Traders reorganized their wares, preparing for the evening's rush of business. Throughout the day, a steady stream of people moved between the camp and the mines. Some returned early, their faces grim with disappointment. Others came back later, eyes shining with the excitement of a promising find. Each person's fortune, good or ill, rippled through the camp, affecting the mood of all. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the heat became oppressive. The air shimmered above the red earth, and even the most energetic children sought shelter in the shade. This was the time when the camp seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the cool of evening to return. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the quiet of the afternoon, when most were resting or working in the mines, the true character of the camp emerged. It was a place of contrasts and contradictions. Hope and despair lived side by side, separated only by the thin walls of neighboring huts. Dreams of wealth and fears of failure mingled in the dusty air. Yet, for all its hardships, the camp was a place of incredible resilience. Each setback was met with determination, each loss with renewed effort. The miners and their families faced the challenges of their lives with a strength born of necessity and nurtured by community. As the day wore on and the heat began to subside, the camp once again stirred to life. Miners returned from the pits, their bodies weary but their spirits buoyed by the prospect of evening's respite. The air filled once more with the sounds of conversation and laughter, of pots clanging and children playing. The cycle of the camp continued, day after day, week after week. Seasons changed, bringing new challenges. The relentless heat of summer, the heavy rains of the wet season. But through it all, the camp endured, a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who called it home. In the end, it was this spirit that defined the heartbeat of the camps. It was the rhythm of lives lived on the edge of possibility, where each day brought the potential for life-changing discovery. It was the pulse of a community bound together by shared dreams and shared hardships. As night fell once more and the fires were lit anew, the camp settled into its familiar evening routine. The day's stories were shared, victories celebrated, and losses mourned. And as the stars emerged in the vast African sky, the miners and their families found comfort in the knowledge that they were part of something greater than themselves. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. By the end of this day, you feel the hum of the mining camp, its risks, its warmth, and its place as the miner's second home. The heartbeat of the camp's pulses on, steady and strong, a rhythm that echoes the hopes and dreams of all who dwell within its boundaries. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the rugged landscape, we find ourselves transported to a world where gold glitters in the earth and fortunes are made and lost with each swing of a pickaxe. The mines themselves are harsh places, filled with the constant thud of tools against rock and the labored breathing of men working in the stifling depths. But it's not in these dusty tunnels that we'll find the true heartbeat of the gold rush. No, for that we must turn our attention to the vibrant, bustling markets that spring up around these camps like oases in the desert. Picture, if you will, a scene of controlled chaos. Every few days, the monotony of camp life is broken by the distant braying of donkeys and the excited shouts of children. They're coming. The traders are coming. The news spreads like wildfire, and soon the entire camp is abuzz with anticipation. Miners emerge from their tents and shacks, clutching small pouches of gold dust or carefully wrapped nuggets. These precious finds, wrested from the earth at great cost, are about to be transformed into the necessities and luxuries that make life in this harsh environment bearable. As the merchants arrive, the camp transforms. Donkeys laden with goods trudge into view, their backs bent under the weight of woven baskets and bulging sacks. Women in brightly colored wraps unfurl bolts of cloth, the deep indigo hues catching the last rays of sunlight. The air fills with a cacophony of sounds, the clinking of brass ornaments, the thud of salt blocks being unloaded, and the constant hum of haggling voices. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The market is a feast for the senses. Salt blocks from distant northern mines gleam, pale and heavy, each one a small fortune in its own right. Traders carefully stack these precious cubes, fully aware of their value in preserving food and flavoring meals. Nearby, a woman carefully arranges jars of golden honey, its sweet scent wafting on the breeze. Another merchant meticulously lays out strings of beads, some carved from bone with intricate patterns, others made of colorful glass that catches the light. For many of the miners, this is the moment when their back-breaking labor truly bears fruit. A good day's yield might not just mean a full belly, but the chance to purchase something special. Perhaps a finely crafted dagger with an ivory handle, its blade sharp enough to split a hair. Or a set of silver bangles that will jingle merrily on a wife's wrist back home. Some might invest in a goat or two, thinking of the milk and meat it will provide for their family in the months to come. But the market is more than just a place of commerce. It's where alliances are forged and information is exchanged. Savvy merchants cultivate relationships with promising miners, offering fair trades and credit in exchange for a steady supply of gold. These partnerships can span years, even generations, creating a web of trust and mutual benefit that stretches across the land. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As night falls, the energy of the market shifts. Lanterns are lit, casting a warm glow over the proceedings. Small groups gather around cooking fires, sharing meals and swapping stories. This is when the real value of the traders becomes apparent. They bring not just goods, but news from the outside world. A merchant from the coast speaks of ships laden with exotic goods from across the sea. Another trader, his clothes still dusty from the long journey, warns of bandits growing bolder along the northern routes. A grizzled old salt merchant mutters about whispers of a new gold strike in a distant valley, his eyes gleaming with the possibility of fresh fortunes to be made. These snippets of information are as precious as any nugget of gold. They shape decisions, spark dreams, and sometimes plant seeds of worry. A single rumor can change the mood of the entire camp in the space of an evening. Will supplies become scarce? Is it time to strike out for new diggings? The miners listen intently, weighing each piece of news against their own plans and hopes. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As the night wears on, transactions continue by lantern light. A miner and a merchant shake hands, sealing a deal with a firm grip and a nod of mutual respect. Nearby, a small crowd gathers to watch as gold dust is carefully poured into a leather pouch, each grain representing hours of back-breaking labor. The scales tip, a price is agreed upon, and goods change hands. But the market is not without its tensions. The delicate balance of supply and demand can be easily upset. News of a poor harvest in farming regions might send food prices soaring. Rumors of unrest in distant lands can make traders nervous about long journeys. And always, there is the specter of claim jumping and theft. Where there is gold, there are those who would take it by force rather than honest toil. Yet, for all its challenges, the market remains the lifeblood of the mining camp. It is here that the fruits of labor are transformed into the necessities of life and the small luxuries that make the harsh existence bearable. It is a place of hope, where a lucky strike can be turned into a better future, and where even those who haven't struck it rich can dream of what might be. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As the night deepens and the market begins to wind down, we see the true tapestry of human experience woven into this place. There are triumphs. The miner who has finally saved enough to buy passage home to his family. There are tragedies, the prospector who gambles away his meager findings on a rigged game of chance. And there are countless small moments of connection, a shared laugh, a comforting word, a piece of advice passed from old hand to newcomer. The market will pack up with the dawn, the traders moving on to the next camp, the next opportunity. But its impact will linger. New tools will bite into the earth, new clothes will protect against the elements, and new stories will be shared around the campfires. And in a few days' time, the cycle will begin anew. As the first shouts of the traders are coming, echo across the hills once more. As we sit here, watching the embers of our fire fade, we can almost hear the ghostly echoes of those long-ago markets. The clink of gold changing hands, the murmur of voices haggling in a dozen languages, the braying of laden donkeys. It's a reminder that even in the most rugged and unforgiving of places, humans will find ways to create community, to trade, to dream of better days ahead. And so, as the stars wheel overhead and the night deepens around us, we're left to ponder the complex web of commerce, culture, and human ambition that these markets represent. They are more than just places of trade. They are the beating heart of the gold rush, pumping life and hope through the veins of every camp and claim. Let's pause here for a final moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Our journey through the markets of the goldfields coming to an end, but the echoes of those long ago days lingering in our minds, a testament to the enduring spirit of human enterprise and the eternal lure of gold. As the sun dipped behind the horizon and the last glow faded from the dust-laden sky, the mining camps transformed. Fires flickered in the open spaces between huts, their smoke curling into the cool night air. The sharp clang of metal tools was replaced by the murmur of voices, the beat of hand drums, and the occasional burst of laughter from a group of miners sharing palm wine. The night brought both relief and reflection. Muscles ached from hours in the pits, but the air was cooler, the stars brighter than anywhere else. Miners sat in small circles, sharing stories from the day, tales of near misses with collapsing walls, or lucky finds that gleamed like captured sunlight. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. There was also a quiet intimacy to these evenings. Some miners carved wood by the light of the fire, shaping tools or charms. Others repaired baskets or sharpened blades. A few preferred solitude, walking beyond the camp's edge to gaze across the silent hills. For many, it was a spiritual time, a chance to whisper prayers to the ancestors, to ask for safety, or to thank the earth for her hidden gifts. The scent of grilled meat or simmering stews drifted through the air, mingling with the resinous smoke from burning wood. Children played close to the fires until sleep claimed them, their heads resting on rolled cloth. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As the night deepened, the rhythm of the camp shifted. The excited chatter of early evening gave way to softer tones, hushed conversations between old friends, elders, their faces etched with the stories of countless nights like these, held court near the largest fires. Their words carried weight, filled with the wisdom of years spent coaxing precious metals from unyielding earth. In one corner, a group of young miners huddled close, their eyes wide as they listened to tales of legendary finds. An older man, his hands rough and scarred from decades of work, spoke of veins of gold so pure they seemed to glow in the darkness of the mine. His voice dropped to a whisper as he described the day he stumbled upon a pocket of diamonds, each one as big as his thumb. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Not far away, a woman stirred a large pot of fragrant stew, the steam rising in lazy spirals. Her movements were practiced, efficient, born of countless nights feeding hungry miners. As she ladled portions into clay bowls, men and women alike approached with grateful nods. The simple meal was a comfort, a reminder of home in this harsh landscape. Near the edge of the camp, where the firelight barely reached, a lone figure stood silhouetted against the star-studded sky. His gaze swept across the rolling hills, searching for something only he could see. Perhaps he dreamed of the wealth hidden beneath those silent slopes. Or maybe his thoughts turned to family left behind in a distant village. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The night air carried more than just the scent of food and wood smoke. There was music too, rising and falling with the breeze. A group of miners had gathered, their instruments a mix of traditional and improvised. Drums fashioned from empty barrels kept time, while a hand-carved flute wove a melody both mournful and hopeful. The song spoke of the earth's treasures, of the toil required to claim them, and of the dreams that drove men and women to seek their fortunes in this unforgiving land. As the music played, some miners danced, their bodies moving with a grace that belied the day's exhaustion. Others simply swayed in place, eyes closed, letting the rhythm wash over them. It was a moment of unity, a shared experience that bound the camp together more surely than any contract or promise of riches. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the quieter corners of the camp, other rituals unfolded. A group of women sat together, their fingers moving deftly as they wove intricate patterns into baskets and mats. Their work was both practical and artistic, creating objects of beauty from the simplest materials. As they worked, they shared stories in low voices, passing down legends and practical knowledge alike to the younger members of their circle. Not far away, a miner sat cross-legged, his weathered hands moving with surprising delicacy as he repaired a damaged pickaxe. The firelight glinted off the metal as he worked, his brow furrowed in concentration. Each tool was precious here, a lifeline in the constant struggle against unyielding rock and shifting earth. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As the night wore on, the camp gradually quieted. Fires burned lower, conversations dwindled to murmurs, and one by one, miners retreated to their huts or rolled out sleeping mats beneath the open sky. The stars wheeled overhead, a vast, glittering canopy that seemed close enough to touch. In these final moments before sleep claimed them, many miners found themselves lost in thought. They reflected on the day's work, on the challenges that awaited them when dawn broke. Some dreamed of the wealth they hoped to find, of the lives they could build with just one lucky strike. Others thought of home, of loved ones left behind, wondering if the sacrifice would be worth it in the end. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As the last embers faded and the camp fell into silence, a sense of peace settled over the landscape. The harsh realities of mining life, the danger, the uncertainty, the back-breaking labor, seemed distant now, softened by the gentle embrace of night. For a few precious hours, the earth's treasures could wait, allowing these seekers of fortune a moment of respite. The stars continued their slow dance across the sky, bearing silent witness to the hopes and fears of those who slept below. And as the first hint of dawn began to lighten the eastern horizon, the mining camp stirred once more. Another day of toil and possibility lay ahead, but for now, in these last quiet moments of night, all was still. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Gold in the Ghana Empire was more than a mineral. It was the lifeblood of the throne. Every grain sifted from a riverbed, every nugget pried from a rock face, was part of an intricate political web. At the very top of that web sat the Ghana, the king, whose authority shimmered as brightly as the gold dust in his coffers. By the end of this part, you'll understand how the wealth of the land wasn't simply a treasure, but a carefully guarded instrument of power, one that shaped trade routes, foreign relations, and even the daily life of miners. The empire had a clear and uncompromising rule. All gold nuggets belonged to the king. Miners could keep gold dust, which was useful for trade in markets. But the large, gleaming lumps, the kind that could make a man rich overnight, were reserved for royal vaults. This wasn't greed alone. Controlling the flow of gold kept the Ghana's prestige unshakable and his enemies cautious. Imagine, if you will, the Ghana king seated upon an ornate golden throne, his form adorned with layers of intricate gold jewelry. Around him, courtiers in vibrant robes stand in reverent attention, their eyes fixed upon their resplendent ruler. The very air seems to shimmer with the weight of gold and power. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The gold tax system was a masterpiece of control. Traders arriving from the north, often Berber caravans from across the Sahara, were met with strict tolls. One tax to enter the empire, another to leave, both often paid in gold dust. These taxes didn't just fill the royal treasury. They also declared to the world that the Ghana Empire's gold was worth traveling hundreds of miles through scorching desert to reach. And so, from miner to merchant, from dust to throne, the politics of gold were woven into the very heartbeat of the empire. The glitter of gold wasn't just about wealth. It was about power, prestige, and the delicate balance of an entire society. Picture a bustling market at the gates of a walled city. Dust-covered caravans arrive, their camels laden with goods from distant lands. At the entrance, stern-faced guards collect gold dust as tax. Each grain a testament to the empire's might and allure. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The Ghana's control over gold wasn't just about hoarding wealth. It was a sophisticated system of economic and political management. By restricting access to large gold nuggets, the king ensured that no single individual or group could amass enough wealth to challenge his authority. This policy kept potential rivals in check and maintained the delicate balance of power within the empire. But the effects of this golden rule reached far beyond the borders of Ghana. News of the empire's vast wealth spread across the Sahara and beyond, drawing traders, scholars, and adventurers from distant lands. The allure of Ghana's gold became the stuff of legend, whispered in the markets of Cairo and the courts of Baghdad. Imagine the scene. A caravan leader, his face weathered by years of desert travel, regaling wide-eyed listeners with tales of the Ghana king's golden palace. Each story, embellished with every retelling, only added to the mystique of the empire and its precious metal. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The gold trade wasn't just about luxury or vanity. It was the lifeblood of a vast network of commerce that stretched across Africa and beyond. Salt from the Sahara, textiles from North Africa, and exotic goods from as far as India all flowed into Ghana, exchanged for the coveted gold dust. This trade didn't just enrich the empire, it connected cultures, spread ideas, and shaped the course of history. For the common people of Ghana, gold was a part of daily life, yet always slightly out of reach. Miners sifted through river silt, their eyes sharp for the telltale glint of gold dust. But they knew that any substantial find would be whisked away to the royal treasury. It was a constant reminder of the king's authority, present in every handful of earth they sifted. Picture a young miner knee-deep in a cool stream, his pan filled with muddy water. As he swirls it gently, tiny flecks of gold appear, catching the sunlight. His eyes light up, but there's a hint of resignation too. He knows that true wealth lies just beyond his grasp. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The Ghana king's monopoly on gold nuggets wasn't just about personal enrichment. It was a crucial tool in diplomacy and foreign relations. When emissaries from other kingdoms arrived, they were often presented with gifts of gold, carefully calculated to impress, intimidate, or curry favor. The size and quality of these golden gifts spoke volumes about the Ghana's estimation of the visitor's importance. Imagine a foreign ambassador, eyes wide with wonder as he's led into the king's presence. The throne room glitters with gold, from the intricate designs on the walls to the massive nuggets displayed prominently. Before a word is spoken, the message is clear. You are in the presence of unimaginable wealth and power. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. But the Ghanar's golden grip on power wasn't without its challenges. The lure of gold attracted not just traders, but also potential invaders. The empire had to maintain a delicate balance, projecting strength to deter enemies while avoiding appearing so wealthy as to become an irresistible target. It was a constant dance of power, with gold as both the prize and the weapon. The empire's military might was intrinsically linked to its gold reserves. Gold paid for weapons, armor, and the loyalty of skilled warriors. In times of conflict, the Ghana could muster impressive forces, their gleaming equipment a testament to the empire's wealth and a warning to any who might challenge its dominance. Visualize a group of Ghana warriors, their spears tipped with gold, shields emblazoned with golden designs. They stand as a living embodiment of the empire's might, a fusion of martial skill and material wealth. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The gold of Ghana didn't just shape the empire's external relations. It profoundly influenced its internal structure as well. A complex hierarchy developed around the production, transportation, and trade of gold. Miners, traders, guards, and officials all played their part in this golden ecosystem, each role carefully defined and controlled by the throne. This system created a society where one's proximity to gold often determined their status and influence. Court officials who managed the royal gold reserves wielded significant power, while skilled goldsmiths who transformed raw gold into exquisite jewelry and artifacts for the elite were highly respected artisans. Imagine a royal workshop where master craftsmen labor over delicate gold filigree, creating pieces fit for the gods. Their art is not just decoration, but a vital expression of the empire's culture and power. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As night falls over the Ghana Empire, the gold that defined its power takes on a different character. In the flickering light of oil lamps, golden objects seem to come alive, their surfaces dancing with shadows. It's a reminder that for all its material value, gold held a spiritual significance as well. Many believed it to be a gift from the gods, a divine blessing upon the empire and its ruler. This spiritual dimension added another layer to the Ghanar's authority. As the custodian of this divine gift, the king was seen not just as a political leader, but as a link between the earthly realm and the divine. It was a powerful tool for maintaining order and loyalty among the people. Picture a nighttime ritual where the Ghana king, adorned in his finest gold, performs sacred rites. The gold gleams in the firelight, seeming to connect heaven and earth, past and present, in a timeless moment of power and mystery. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As we've journeyed through the golden heart of the Ghana Empire, we've seen how a single precious metal could shape the destiny of a nation. From the sweat-soaked labors of miners to the grand policies of kings. From bustling markets to solemn temples, gold was the thread that wove together the fabric of an entire society. The story of Ghana's gold is more than a tale of wealth and power. It's a testament to human ingenuity, the complex interplay of economics and politics, and the enduring allure of that which glitters. As we close our eyes, let the echoes of this golden empire linger in your mind. A shimmering reminder of a time when the wealth of the land wasn't simply a treasure, but the very lifeblood of a throne. As the sun climbs high, Kumbisela shimmers like a mirage. Twin settlements breathing the same hot wind. In one quarter, the royal town sits behind earthen walls, its courtyards shaded by acacia and palm. In the other, the merchant's town murmurs with prayer and prices. Narrow streets, sun-baked mud brick houses, and the tall silhouettes of mosques, whose wooden beams jut like ribs against the sky. Between them flows the ceaseless traffic of power scribes, tax collectors, caravan leaders, and messengers with dust in their beards and news in their mouths. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The king's court breathes ceremony. Pages sprinkle sand to settle the dust as drummers soften their hands on taut skins, summoning officials to the shade of a pillared audience yard. The Ghanaz attendants wear cotton robes trimmed with narrow bands of leather and gold. Anklets chime faintly when they move. No one rushes. Business here unfolds like a slow tide. Petitions first, then matters of tribute, then the wider world. Caravans expected from Tagaza. A dispute over water rights near the Niger, the delicate balance of gold dust after a lean season in the mines. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Across the sandy track, the merchant's quarter sounds different. The thrum of bargaining. The call to prayer, rising and falling. The scratch of reed pens as scholars annotate worn folios. In shaded study rooms, teachers recite passages while pupils mouth the words, rocking gently with the rhythm. Along shelves of baked clay, leather-bound texts rest. Treatises on astronomy, contracts for future harvests, travel notes from men who have crossed the open seas of sand and returned with stories salted by wind. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. When envoys arrive, the court brightens like metal meeting flame. Tuareg guides with faces half-veiled led pack animals draped in indigo-dyed tassels. From their saddlebags come the desert's proofs. Slabs of salt, carnelian beads, fine silk, and notes tallying the dust paid at the gates. The chief tax official, measured unblinking, weighs the offerings, checks, seals, and speaks in the calm language of percentages. Gold dust slides into clay jars. Nuggets, when shown, pass under royal guard. In this quiet arithmetic, the throne draws breath, its pulse steady and its reach long. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Etiquette gilds everything. Petitioners lower their gaze. Griots shape memory into speech, and praise names fall like warm rain. Titles layered upon titles, until the Ghana's presence feels as solid as the earth beneath the pillars. Even silence has rules, the measured pauses between sentences, the respectful stillness while a scribe dries ink or a drummer mutes a skin. The court moves slowly, but its decisions travel fast, rippling outward to the mines, the markets, and the desert paths where tracks vanish between dunes. In the afternoon heat, the royal procession sometimes crosses to the merchant's quarter. The people part to let it pass. A hush, then a wave of murmurs. Children count the ornaments. Heavy collars, hammered discs that lay like small suns upon the chests of officials. A judge settles a quarrel over spoiled grain. A caravaner swears oaths before witnesses. A scholar presents a copied text whose margins bloom with careful notes. The world here is bound by words, weighed by scales, and sealed with gold. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As shadows lengthen, the call to prayer braids with the court's last orders of the day. Messengers slip out toward the goldfields with wax-sealed instructions. A scribe sands the final ledger line and closes the day's account. The twin towns settle into evening, each leaning toward the other across the narrow strip of sand that both separates and unites them. In the royal courtyards, lamps are lit. In the study rooms, the murmur of recitation softens to a whisper. Kambi Sailor exhales. a city built on ceremony, trade, and the quiet confidence of a throne that knows the measure of its wealth. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The next day dawns, and Kumbisela stirs once more. In the royal quarter, the Ghana prepares for an important audience. Emissaries from distant lands have arrived, bearing gifts and seeking alliances. The court buzzes with anticipation, for these meetings shape the destiny of the empire. As the sun climbs higher, the visitors are led into the grand audience chamber. Their eyes widen at the sight of the Ghana, resplendent on his golden throne. His robe shimmers with threads of gold, and his crown catches the light like a constellation. The air is thick with incense and expectation. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Foreign emissaries bowing their heads, their foreheads touching the cool stone floor to the King of Ghana. When bidden to rise, they present their offerings. Rare spices, intricate metalwork, and scrolls of wisdom from far-off lands. The Ghana listens to their words, his face impassive, while his advisors lean in close, weighing each syllable. In the merchants' quarter, word of the visitors spreads like wildfire. Traders speculate on new routes and opportunities. Their voices a low hum in the bustling markets. Scholars hurry to consult ancient texts, seeking context for these new connections. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As the day wears on, the Ghana's decision ripples through Kumbisela. New alliances are forged, sealed with gold and solemn oaths. The city pulses with renewed energy, its twin hearts beating in unison. The royal court's measured rhythms harmonizing with the merchants' quickening pace. In the cool of the evening, celebrations begin. Drums echo across the sand, and the aroma of roasting meat fills the air. In both quarters, people gather to share news and speculation. The future seems bright, glittering with promise, like gold dust caught in lamplight. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Night falls, and Kumbisela dreams. In the royal quarter, the Ghana rests his head, the weight of empire settling on his shoulders like a familiar cloak. In the merchant's town, a young scholar pores over texts by candlelight, imagining distant shores and the knowledge they might hold. The stars wheel overhead, silent witnesses to the ebb and flow of power, wealth, and wisdom in this great crossroads of the Sahel. Kumbisela sleeps, but its influence stretches far beyond its walls, carried on the wind and whispered in the tales of travelers. And so we leave this shimmering city, twin hearts beating as one, a testament to the grandeur of Ghana and the enduring power of gold, faith, and knowledge. The fire before us dies to embers, and the tale of Kumbisela fades into the night, leaving us to ponder the rise and fall of empires, and the eternal dance of commerce and culture across the sands of time. In the waning light of an empire, the gold of ancient Ghana cast long shadows across the land. Once a symbol of boundless prosperity, it now whispered of a future uncertain and fragile. As the sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and crimson, the elders of Kumbisela gathered beneath the sprawling branches of ancient silk cotton trees. Their flowing indigo robes rustled softly in the evening breeze, a stark contrast to the hushed tones of their voices. These were men who had seen the kingdom rise to greatness, who had watched caravans laden with riches stream through the city gates like rivers of gold. But now their weathered faces bore the weight of a different knowledge. They spoke of omens and portents, of the delicate balance between abundance and ruin. Their words carried on the warm African air, spoke of a truth that many feared to acknowledge, that even the mightiest empires could crumble if their foundations were not tended with care. In the courtyard, a carved wooden staff lay nearby, its intricate patterns telling stories of generations past. It was a symbol of authority, but also a reminder of the wisdom that had guided Ghana through centuries of prosperity. As the elders conferred, their eyes would occasionally drift to this staff, as if seeking counsel from the spirits of their ancestors. The royal treasuries still glimmered with wealth beyond imagining, their vaults filled with gold, dust, nuggets, and finely crafted ornaments. Yet, to those with keen ears, the rhythm of the kingdom had changed. The once constant din of arriving caravans had slowed to a trickle, each passing day marked by longer silences between the jingling of camel bells and the calls of merchants. In the air hung an unspoken unease, a tension that even the most optimistic could not fully ignore. It was as if the very earth beneath their feet had shifted, subtly but irrevocably altering the course of their destiny. The elders, guardians of Ghana's legacy, felt this change most keenly. They knew that the true measure of their kingdom's strength lay not in the gold itself, but in how they wielded its power in the face of an uncertain future. As night fell and lanterns flickered to life across Kumbi Sala, the king's advisors gathered in hushed council. Their debates echoed through torchlit chambers, voices rising and falling like the tide. The question that burned in their minds was no longer simply how to protect the mines that had brought such prosperity. Now, they grappled with a far more elusive challenge: how to safeguard the very essence of what gold had come to mean for Ghana. These men understood that every gleaming bar pulled from the earth was more than mere metal. It was a page in their kingdom's grand narrative, a testament to the ingenuity, courage, and vision of their people. The weight of this legacy pressed upon them, a burden as heavy as the gold itself. For they knew that true wealth lay not in coffers and vaults, but in the stories that would echo through time long after the last vein of gold had been exhausted. In a small courtyard, bathed in the golden light of sunset, a griot sat cross-legged beside a smouldering brazier. His fingers danced across the strings of a kora, coaxing forth melodies that spoke of glory and sorrow, of triumphs past and challenges yet to come. Around him, a small gathering of listeners leaned in, their faces etched with rapt attention. The griot's voice rose and fell, weaving tales of brave kings and cunning traders, of vast deserts crossed and mighty rivers tamed. But beneath the familiar stories lay a new urgency, a call to remember and preserve. For in his songs, the griot sought to capture the very soul of Ghana, to ensure that even if gold should fail, the spirit of their people would endure. As the kora's notes faded into the gathering dusk, the listeners sat in thoughtful silence. They understood that they were witnessing more than a simple performance. This was the forging of memory, the transformation of history into legend. In the griot's words, they heard the echoes of their own lives, their own hopes and fears reflected in the grand tapestry of Ghana's story. By the time the first undeniable signs of the empire's weakening began to appear, gold had already transcended its role as a mere commodity. It had become the very pulse of Ghana's identity, a golden thread woven through every aspect of life, from the king in his gilded pavilion to the humble miner whose calloused hands knew the weight of each stone by heart. Gold was the lifeblood that connected them all. Yet even as this shared heritage bound the people together, new challenges arose to test their unity. Whispers of shifting trade routes reached their ears, carried by merchants who spoke of new lands and rival kingdoms rising in power. The neighbors who had once looked upon Ghana with awe and respect now gazed with hungry eyes, sensing weakness where once there had been only strength. In the markets and gathering places of Cumby Salad, people spoke in low voices of rebellion stirring in distant provinces. The bonds that had held the empire together for so long were beginning to fray, stretched thin by distance and the changing tides of fortune. It was as if the very foundations of their world were shifting beneath their feet, leaving them to wonder what would remain when the dust settled. As dusk fell over the king's court, a somber mood settled like a heavy cloak. The once bustling chambers grew quiet, save for the measured footsteps of courtiers moving with practiced grace through halls adorned with fading splendor. Gold jewelry glinted faintly in the dim light, a reminder of glories past and the uncertain promise of days to come. In the distance, drums marked the end of another day, their rhythm a steady heartbeat in the gathering gloom. It was a sound that had echoed through the streets of Cumby Salad for generations, a constant in a world of change. But now, even this familiar cadence seemed to carry a note of melancholy, as if the very air knew that an era was drawing to a close. The king, resplendent in robes of gold-threaded silk, sat upon his throne with the weight of centuries upon his shoulders, his eyes, once bright with the fire of conquest and ambition, now held a deeper wisdom, the understanding that true greatness lay not in the accumulation of wealth, but in the legacy one leaves behind. Around him, his advisors moved with careful precision, their faces masks of calm even as their minds raced with plans and contingencies. They knew that the challenges facing Ghana could not be met with gold alone. It would take all their cunning, all their courage, and all the wisdom of their ancestors to navigate the treacherous waters that lay ahead. As night fell in earnest, casting long shadows across the courtyards and alleyways of Cumby Salad, a sense of quiet determination settled over the city. For though the future might be uncertain, the people of Ghana knew that they carried within them something far more precious than gold, the indomitable spirit that had built an empire from the dust of the Sahel. In homes and gathering places, in the whispered conversations of elders and the dreams of the young, the story of Ghana continued to unfold. It was a tale of triumph and struggle, of wisdom gained and lessons learned. And though the glitter of gold might fade, the legacy of their people would endure, a beacon of hope and inspiration for generations yet to come. As the last light faded from the sky, leaving only the faint glimmer of stars above, the people of Cumby Salad turned their thoughts to the dawn. For they knew that whatever challenges the new day might bring, they would face them together, bound by a shared history and a common dream. In the end, it was not the weight of gold that would define them, but the strength of their unity and the depth of their resolve. And so, as the night deepened and the city slept, the spirit of Ghana lived on. In the stories of the griots, in the songs of the people, and in the hearts of all who called this land home, for they understood that true wealth lay not in the treasures of the earth, but in the enduring legacy of a people united by something far more precious than gold. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the ancient city, the fires in the goldsmith's workshop finally begin to cool. The tools lie still, their handles warm from a day's labor, bearing silent witness to the transformation that has taken place. In the fading light, the gold, once raw, coarse, and stubborn, now glows softly in bowls, bracelets, and amulets that will soon journey far beyond the city's gates. The rhythmic clang of hammers that filled the air throughout the day gradually fades, giving way to the gentle hum of evening voices, the rustle of market stalls closing, and the deep, slow heartbeat of the Hausa night. The goldsmith, his face etched with the lines of concentration and years of dedication to his craft, wipes the last traces of dust from his brow. He knows that tomorrow will bring the same familiar rhythm. The careful weighing, the intense melting, the precise shaping. But for him, this is more than mere work. It is a sacred promise to the city and its people. Each piece that leaves his workshop tells a story of distant rivers that carry precious gold dust, of long caravans that bring exotic salt and fine cloth from faraway lands, of discerning patrons who measure worth not just in glitter and shine, but in the enduring beauty and strength of well-crafted gold. As night deepens its embrace over the city, the newly forged gold rests quietly in the workshop. It awaits its journey into the hands of traders, rulers, and storytellers, who will carry it across vast deserts and into the realm of legend and memory. For in the great Hausa city-states, gold was never simply a metal to be bought and sold. It was history itself, forged into tangible form, polished until it caught the light just so, reflecting the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of a people. The goldsmith steps out of his workshop, his eyes scanning the familiar skyline of mud brick houses and minarets silhouetted against the deepening twilight. Smoke curls gently from workshop chimneys, carrying with it the sense of the day's labors. The sharp tang of metal, the earthy aroma of clay, the sweet fragrance of incense used to bless each creation. He takes a deep breath, feeling the cool night air fill his lungs, a stark contrast to the heat of his forge. In the distance, he hears the call to prayer, its melodious tones floating on the evening breeze. It reminds him of the passage of time, of the cycles of life that his craft has witnessed and will continue to witness long after he is gone. For gold, in its enduring nature, connects the past to the present and reaches into the future, a testament to the skill and artistry of those who shape it. As he turns to head home, the goldsmith's thoughts drift to the pieces he has created today. A delicate filigree necklace commissioned by a merchant's wife, its intricate patterns inspired by the swirling desert sands. A sturdy armband for a warrior, embossed with symbols of strength and protection. A set of earrings for a young bride, their gentle tinkling meant to ward off evil spirits on her wedding day. Each item carries with it not just the weight of gold, but the weight of tradition, of belief, of identity. He thinks of the hands that will wear these pieces, the eyes that will admire them, the stories that will be told about them. In markets from Kano to Timbuktu, in the courts of sultans and in humble village huts, his creations will speak of the richness of Hausa culture, of the skill of its craftsmen, of the wealth of its lands. The goldsmith pauses at the threshold of his home, looking back one last time at his workshop. In the soft glow of the evening, he sees not just a place of work, but a sacred space where raw material is transformed into objects of beauty and meaning. He feels a deep sense of gratitude for the gift of his craft, for the opportunity to be a part of this ancient tradition that connects him to generations past and those yet to come. As he steps inside, greeted by the warm smiles of his family, the goldsmith carries with him the satisfaction of a day well spent. He knows that tomorrow will bring new challenges, new designs to master, new stories to tell through his art. But for now, he allows himself to rest, to be present in this moment of quiet contentment. And as the night deepens its hold over the city, the newly crafted gold rests too, its surface catching the last glimmers of starlight. It waits patiently for the dawn, for the moment when it will begin its journey into the world, carrying with it a piece of the goldsmith's soul, a fragment of the city's heart, a spark of the enduring spirit of the Hausa people. For in this ancient land, where the baobab trees stand sentinel and the desert winds whisper tales of old, gold is more than mere adornment. It is a bridge between worlds, a keeper of secrets, a teller of tales. And as the city sleeps, dreaming of the treasures that lie within its walls. One thing remains certain. The fires may cool, the hammers may fall silent, but the legacy of the goldsmith, like the gold itself, will shine on. You are now under Baobab skies, where the stories of gold and the hands that shape it are as endless as the starry night above.